From EPAWA Weather Consulting, headquartered in Worth Whitehall, Pennsylvania, this is Weather Weeklies, an informative video of the ins and outs of weather that affect you most in the EPAWA coverage area. The thoughts and opinions expressed in this video are those of the forecaster alone and may not reflect those of the staff of EPAWA Weather Consulting LLC as a whole, nor its constituents. Now, without further ado, here is meteorologist Bobby Martrich with Weather Weeklies.
And good Sunday morning to you, another edition of Weather Weeklies for Sunday, November 28th. We have some areas getting a little bit of taste of snow this morning, mainly in our interior locations where we had a little bit of dusting to a half inch, some areas getting up to an inch in our northern areas, but a little bit of a festive mood this morning, so I changed the little light snowflakes up here. Most of it's already done. There's a little bit across northern New Jersey this morning yet hanging around, but there'll be some snow showers later as well. But just to get in the mood for November. Now, November isn't a month that produces a lot of snow, as we've talked about in the last couple of videos. This is the average snowfall at each location. We are going to finish slightly below average now, even with this snowfall. Many of these areas will probably about half of that, or even less in some cases. So it's going to be a slightly below average end to the month of November, it looks like. Here is our long-range table from Friday. We have a slightly below average temperatures going through about the 1st of December. Then we're going to have a little surge in here as a cold front comes toward the region. That's going to arrive here on Thursday. And after that, we go slightly below average behind it for several days. And then I have this period in here for near average between the 11th and 17th. I don't think this is going to be a warm period. I know there's been some ensembles that have been posted around social media showing this big blowtorch coming in this week here, but I don't see it. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we'll be generally near average. You might have a few of those days where it's like maybe a degree or two above average, but it's really not going to be significant in the grand scheme. It's generally near average that week, and then we turn slightly below average again heading into Christmas week and beyond, and I think we are going to stay colder than average after that point. So we have this system moving through today, which is the Clipper system. Was mainly last night for most areas. It'll have some more snow showers that will occur later today and part of the evening for northern areas only, and that's going to be with the upper level energy moving through that I talked about in the daily forecast video, weekend forecast video. And I have this area of rain here on the 4th and 5th. It's actually sped up a little bit. It looked like it was going to be the end of the week. Now it looks like it's going to be Thursday. So this is going to move up a little bit. It is going to be in the form of rain. I'm not expecting, a rain-snow situation with that. And then I still have 2 winter storm signals listed here. One is between the 8th and 12th, which has been there for about a month. Have not removed that. And we added another one here between the 18th and 22nd, several days before Christmas. So we're going to watch these 2 periods very closely. There are several chances during that range. There's not a guarantee with a winter storm signal, but I still like those periods for something to produce. And I've always been telling you, if you've been following around along these videos since we started this on November 8th, that there's going to be probably not going to be too much snow in the month of November, if any at all. And any of these chances you're going to be waiting for anything maybe a little bit more organized or significant, but won't be until after the second week of December. The good thing about these Weather Weeklies videos is they're archived. And I have they're done on YouTube, so you can go back and check tape, as my friend Ray would say, because it's there, it's been there, it's not changed. It's what we've been saying all along, and so you hear certain sources out there saying they nailed it, or they told you this was coming or whatever, but they don't have anything archived. You can go back and say, well, wait a minute, we do I do this every week, and I take pride in the long range outlook that I produce each and every week. Is it going to be 100%? No, but it's going to be pretty good, okay? It's going to be pretty good. So I'm not here to inflate snow chances. I don't have an agenda. I'm not going to, call for some big snows. If it's not there, it's not there. I don't have any skin in the game here. So this is not something that, I know a lot of you are snow lovers. Some of you hate it. Mostly are subscribers to the My Pocket Meteorologist program because you're wanting to work around it with the alerts that you're getting. But, whether you like it or not is irrelevant to me. I'm just going to call it like I see it. If I see it, I'll forecast it. If I don't see it, then I'll tell you that too. And these are a couple signals in here that we've maintained, and we introduced this last one just this week. But, there's no reason for me to take that away. There's also no reason for me to jump on one ensemble run versus another. They keep flipping back and forth. When you're doing long range, it's a probabilistic approach, okay? So you don't want to latch on to every single time the models flip and change, because they're going to do that. We're keeping slightly below average temperatures going into the month of December and maintaining slightly above average snowfall for the month of December going forward. So here's the additional snow showers today. These are just across the northern tier. They're going to go like probably mid-afternoon through the evening, just across the northern tier. So you'll get another round. I think the earlier stuff that moved across northern New Jersey, east central Pennsylvania, that is now out of here, and that's it. So I wanted to focus on pattern again. We've been talking about the La Nina last couple of weeks. I don't need to beat a dead horse with that. We have a week La Nina coming up, and that's not a surprise. What we're monitoring now is where in the equatorial eastern Pacific the greatest departures from normal are. Okay, because that makes a difference whether it is in the central part of the Pacific Basin or if it is the eastern part. And we have been still trending toward a basin-wide event, La Nina, where the temperatures along this entire region in the eastern Pacific, from just west of the dateline all the way eastward to the Peruvian coast, are below average. And you can see that here. It starts all the way in the west with Niña 4, and then goes all the way to the Peruvian coast, which is Niña 1 and 2. And that's in South America, of course. So the trend here has been to push those anomalies, the coldest temperatures, to the eastern side a little bit. Not an east base. This is not an east base La Nina. However, it is kind of basin-wide with leaning east, if that makes sense. Okay, so that has implications on our downstream forecasts. And I do think, again, me just limiting to 5 to 6 weeks is a much smarter idea than going to a whole season. No discredit to anybody who wants to do seasonal outlooks. Knock yourselves out, okay? I just don't think it's something I want to put out there that you can flip a coin and be right or wrong, and it's luck. It is. So once you stay within 5 to 6 weeks, it's a lot more precise as far as the patterns and things that you're looking at. So I'm looking at it on a intraseasonal scale here, okay? So we're taking a look at the sea surface temperatures. Here's your La Nina, and you can see it extends all the way to the west of the international dateline. So this is your Niña 4 regions. Niña 3.4 is here, Niña 3 is here, and 1 and 2 are out here. Okay, so this is a basin-wide event that is below average in all of those regions, as we saw in those raw numbers I just showed you. Okay, so, which is right here. Here's those numbers. So negative 0.7 is actually the warmest of any of those Niña regions, closest to the international dateline, and then your negative 1, negative 1.1 Celsius departures from normal, which is the weak La Nina in the eastern regions, the easy regions out here. Okay, so you can see the darker blues here showing up where the greatest sea surface temperature anomalies are. Okay, so this is a snapshot of what the entire globe looks like currently. Okay, this is as of this morning. All right, taking a look at another analog I want to show you here. This is looking at just a few years ago, 4 years ago, in fact. This is the 2017-2018 winter. Okay, look at the sea surface temperature anomaly. Same thing. It is basin-wide, leaning east, just like it is now. You got this little cool pull up here, all this warmth in here, warm along the east coast, temperate in the Indian Ocean, and guess what? Match that up, go back and forth. That's exactly what we have right now. And this is taking a look at the 27th of November of 2017. And it's almost identical. It's almost identical. Okay, so not necessarily foretelling what's going to happen down the future, but for the next several weeks it will be. Okay, for the next several weeks it will be, because this is very similar. I'm not concerned right now what's going on in February and March. Okay, I'm worried about what's going on the next 5 to 6 weeks, which takes us through about almost mid-January. Okay, so I can do a comparative analysis to 2017 and what happened in December, what happened in January. Okay, that's where I'm focused on right now. Where this migrates after that, because these can certainly change over time. What happens after that is a down the road thing. Okay, because it's hard to project. Okay, but right now, if you look at what happened in December 2017, most areas were slightly above average snowfall. Not a lot, just slightly above. So places, if your normal is like 7.5, they got like maybe 9.5 or 10, okay, inches of snow. That can certainly happen. It's not a tremendous amount of snow in December, but it's some. Okay, that's a lot of nickel and diamond to get there. You might have like a 3-inch event here, a 4-inch event here, 1.5 inches here, yeah, whatever. Okay, you have that in the month of December where it starts picking up. And then in December, we were actually slightly below average snowfall once we got to that year anyway, about near average in February and then well above in March. We had a strong finish. So if you're looking at from a sea surface temperature standpoint, this is a pretty good analog. In most areas, that winter finished about 100, almost 150% of normal snowfall. Not necessarily going to be turning out that way because we don't do down the road stuff. But at least for the next 6 weeks, it's looking like this is going to match up pretty well. And I used another analog of 2005, 2006 last week, but you notice this one was a lot more east-based. Okay, and then became central-based with time. This one, I think, is closer. This one is the best one. Matching current and the progression is very similar, okay? And the other global sea surface temperature anomalies are similar. So we're going to go with 2017, 2018 as our number one right now. And this is important because the Madden-Julian oscillation will play into this, okay? This is a measure of your convection that goes all the way around the tropical convergence zone, right along the equator, all the way around the equator, around the globe, okay? We're focused on these areas here, mainly from the eastern portion of Africa all the way up through the Pacific Ocean, okay? This area right here, see this little flare-up right here, this recent flare-up, this is expected to put us into a phase 6 very shortly. It's very close to that. Phase 6 is in that general area, see right here. 6 and 7 are right here. And the best convection, although weak, is expected to be in this general area over the next 2 weeks, okay? Not terrible pattern for us in 6 at all. Actually, it's pretty decent. It's not a moisture-laden pattern, but it's at least colder. 7 is kind of back and forth. You get more moisture involved with that, but you're kind of on the boundary of where cold is just to the north, and it's a fine line, and warmer is just off to our south. So here's a look at the projection of the Madden-Julian oscillation. I'm going to use the GFS bias corrected here from this morning. And you see we go into phase 6, and we spend several days there. This is what phase 6 does. This is not a warmer pattern at all. This is colder across our region. That's why we're expecting these colder temperatures in the coming week. Matter of fact, here's a look at that. Does that look warm to you? No. Okay, so this is when it's in phase 6. This is a typical phase 6 pattern right here. You can see that there. Okay, so we're going to phase 6, and then most guidance is taking into phase 7. Phase 7 is a little different. Okay, it pushes those coldest anomalies a little bit further north. You have some warm taking over most of the country, not here necessarily, but a little south of here. Maybe south of D.C., I'd say, when you get into the warmer stuff, and then all of the western United States. So you favor warmer temperatures as well with this height configuration, which that's what this is. This is 500 millibар heights, not temperatures. But the lower heights would be across the Great Lakes and further in the northeast. Okay, not really necessarily here. I actually changed this image here on this particular Madden-Julian oscillation plot to show where this is the Australian Bureau of Meteorology. This is their forecast, and this is usually a very good MJO projection because it's in that part of the world where the MJO is most prevalent. Okay, this is nearest the maritime continent area and the Western Pacific. So they're very concerned with this. A lot of this, the Australian Bureau of Meteorology puts these out as well because they have these projections. They're usually pretty good because they're in that vicinity, but also it dictates their monsoon seasons, their wet seasons, dry seasons. So they follow that pretty closely. Even though they are south of the equator, this still plays a big role in their weather, where that monsoonal trough sets up out there. So, but they do have a projection going very similar to the GFS and the European model. Or European ensembles anyway, which do take it into 7 but keep it weak, and then eventually flirts with phase 8. And some of these spaghetti plots here are taking it into phase 8. That could be a down the road thing, and this would be more for like late in the month and going into January that it would affect our sensible weather. So we'll keep an eye on that because when you get a phase 8, you get a deeper cold in the eastern United States, and you get some blocking involved, and that can change the game a little bit as far as snow events are concerned. Instead of these little rinky-dink snowfalls, you could have something a little bit more, something with a little more substance to it. So here is the temperature periods going forward, okay? Now, we have this colder shot coming in this week, right? After the front passes. And then all this warmth out here that tries to make its way eastward. But see, the whole time here, we remain near average. We don't go to warmer than average temperatures. So that week that we have projected between the 11th and 18th, I think it is. Let me go back and check. Make sure I say the right day. Yeah, right here. The 11th and 17th, we have near average because we never really get above average at any point during that. So there's the 500 millibar look. It's very, on the left, it's very zonal and very, fast moving. So this is not a cold pattern at all, but it's not warm either. So this is seasonable at this time. You get some near average temperatures for that week between the 11th and 17th. And I think eventually once you get beyond that, then we start getting colder again. And that is a down the road thing as well. Here's taking a look at Lehigh Valley International Airport as an example. And you can see these temperatures right in here at that time are near average. Okay. And that's what it's projecting to be. Kind of like 42, 44, 45-ish. That's near average. We have this spike here coming ahead of this cold front here on Thursday. And then we head right back down to colder again here. But then we remain near average after that point. So it doesn't look like we're going to get this crazy warm-up that everybody's talking about, because the GFS ensembles went nuts with that and keep flipping back and forth with it. Again, with long range, you want to kind of stay consistent with your projections. You don't want to bounce around a lot because the models are going to bounce around a lot. And this is more probability based. So you're taking a look more at global observations of what can change things downstream. And you don't want to get into the habit of bouncing around and changing things every single week. Okay. Usually your original ideas end up happening if you just stick with them and just wait it out. That's what's going to take place. Is there a possibility this could turn a little bit warmer in this period? Yeah, there is. I just think it's going to be at more so closer to seasonal average at that time, which is still a little bit too warm for snow events. I think that once we get past that, and you get into the 3rd, 4th week of December to January, you have the opportunities starting to creep up. And you have here's the Euro Weeklies for that. Here's that near average week, and then you see after that going into Christmas week, in between Christmas and New Year's, and then heading into in the first week of January, you're colder than average again. Okay, and at that time, temperatures are already getting a lot colder as far as what average is. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is relative to averages at that time. So you can certainly get some snow events back into this equation. And as far as storm signals here, there are a few signals here in our, this is our 8th to 12th period right in here. You have some signals there, nothing for major storms. And again, this doesn't have to be a major storm, like jumping a foot of snow or more. But you have a storm signal in here for the opportunity for some accumulating snow over parts of the region here in this particular time frame, 8th through the 12th. And then you have another one here a week later, or 10 days later, between the 18th and 22nd that we have here. There's going to be some additional signals beyond that too, but we're just focused on those first two right now. So there are opportunities here. It's not a guarantee, as you can see. Not all are very thrilled with it, but there are certainly some indications that those periods are still good to monitor for a winter storm potential. Whether that be small or large remains to be seen. I would think right now we're probably dealing with the smaller events, but with time, you'll have better opportunities just depending on individual track of each particular storm. So we'll continue to follow that in the weeks ahead. And by the way, somebody asked me about this on Twitter, I believe, last year, what these numbers are. This is just a snow scale, accumulated snow over this entire 35-day period here on the GFS ensemble. The blues are anything up to 6 inches, and then you get into these purples and hot pinks here, you start getting the 6 to 12 inch range. This accumulates through time. So some of these are getting up here, well into the upper teens in terms of snowfall and that range for that entire period. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. But the mean is somewhere here in the middle, which is kind of this particular location, Lehigh Valley International Airport. It's figuring by the time we get to I think this goes to the end of December. We're sitting at about 8 inches of snow or thereabouts, somewhere around there. Okay, which that's near to slightly above average. So if it ends up being that, that's still within our projection window. So I don't want to get anybody excited about any snow again. I'm not here to blow smoke up your ass. I'm not doing that. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'll let you know either way. Where we're leaning, and I still see these signals here, and there's certainly a good possibility it's going to have to be coinciding with a cold, though, when we do that near average or maybe near to slightly above average period between the 11th and 17th to get through. I think on the other side of that is when you start getting into these snow chances again that might have a little more substance to it. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. In the meantime, many of you have signed up for the, I want to thank you because I had a lot of signups ahead of the season. Usually our earlier in the season signups lag because people kind of want to see the snow falling before they commit, but we had a lot of pre-orders this year, a lot more than usual. So I want to thank all of you that have signed up for the My Pocket Meteorologist program, whether that be just text alerts or just the forum or both. There's a lot of you that have done that already. If you do want to get in on this, this is our seasonal text alerts that start at $29.99 for just one monitoring county. That's for the entire season. That's not a monthly rate. That's for the entire season through April until the last snowfall. So that'll cover you for that entire period. The forum is year-round, but most of the activity, of course, with our model analysis ahead of any storms that we'll do, it's going to take place during the winter. So visit this address right above my head, epawaweather.com/NPM. Look for the winter weather alerts, and it'll give you all the information of what that entails. And the areas that we cover are right here. If you live in any of these counties, you can receive the text alerts, okay? Any of those counties there are counties that we cover for text alerts for the My Pocket Meteorologist program. So check that out if you haven't already. And again, I want to thank everybody that has signed up so far. We have a tremendous amount of support for this, for our text alert and My Pocket Meteorologist program so far this year in advance of the upcoming winter. So to summarize the weather weeklies today, we're the La Niña progression will continue to be monitored. We're building similarities to 2017-2018 winter, at least initially. Again, 5 to 6 weeks is all I do. For the first 5 to 6 weeks, it's looking awfully close to this. And in that year, by the way, not too many people had snow in November. They had trace amounts. So we're kind of right on that same path so far. In December, it started picking up a little bit. So we'll see how this progresses and see how close we are to this 2018 year going through December. But I'm really liking this as the number one analog. Up and down temperatures for the first 2 to 3 weeks of December, especially that near average week that we have outlined between the 11th and 17th, and then looking for a colder turn afterwards. That's going to lead us into the Christmas week, between Christmas and New Year's, and then again into the at least the first week of January. So we're following the Manning-Julian oscillation progression. The models are still projecting the MJO. If they're wrong, it's going to change things. You're going to see a lot of flipping back and forth. So the Manning-Julian oscillation is going to dictate this. Okay, that is your convection along the eastern. Or along the in the Pacific Ocean along the equator. Okay, that has effects on the jet stream depending on the heat release, latent heat release that is induced by that convection, and that changes the jet downstream, and that has a lot of a different impact on our pattern depending on what this does. So this is going to be monitored most closely over the next, all the entire winter, but really now during seasonal transition to give us a clue of what's coming downstream with temperature patterns and some stormy patterns possibly down the road. Watching for storm signals beginning the December week 2. This is actually probably going to be after the 17th. So we have that one storm signal between the 8th and 12th when it's still cooler, probably toward the earlier part of that period. And then once we get past that, once we get past the 17th, I think it's 18th and beyond, we have another storm signal listed there. We'll continue to monitor that over the next several weeks. I'm EPA meteorologist Bobby Marchis. That is this edition of Weather Weeklies for Sunday, November 28th. Join us again next week. We will be hopefully talking about a storm signal that might be an actual storm at that point by the time we get to this point next week. But we'll see. We'll see how it progresses throughout the week. Take care.